everyone. We are in Greece, in Andros. It's gorgeous, and we are here for a few days on vacation. Just you like me giving you like yes, I love you as my extra commentator. Gallery. We're gonna look for somewhere to have a little aperitivo and watch the sunset here. We're having a little drink. We're sitting in the sand. No, I think you can. Why? Okay, you did. Bonjour. Kalimera. Kalimera.
Ciao.
Good morning, sweet people. Hello. Take two. Good morning. Who's that? I hope that you can hear me because it's so windy. It's beautiful. We are here in Andros, like I mentioned before. It's in the Cyclades, I think is how you say it, group of islands in Greece. And they're known for their winds, so it's super windy. Today, especially windy. It's about, what time is it? It's like 11 something. We booked ourselves a really short vacation here for 4 days just to change the scenery and yeah, get some sun and Greek beauty. We come to Greece almost every year if we can, and this year we weren't actually supposed to, and just gets us every time. We can't resist to come. Actually haven't had a vacation that's just the two of us in maybe 5 years. Normally we're with other people like my parents or yeah, friends or something, so that's been really nice. My vacation read was, well, the first one has been Transit by Rachel Cusk. I brought my Kindle on this trip just because I'm such a mood reader and I wasn't sure what I would want to read when I arrived. I brought also some physical books that I'll talk to you about, but I brought my Kindle as like a safety net kind of. And I think because Outline, well, I loved Outline so much by Rachel Cusk when I read it last year, and also it takes place partially in Greece. Maybe I was thinking of her and thinking of Outline being here, so I figured I would start Transit, which I started on our first day here, and completely devoured it. Like, I basically read it in 2 sittings, one on like the first afternoon that we were here and the rest of it yesterday. And it was just amazing. I don't know why it took me so long to continue the trilogy. I'm kind of tempted to like just read Kudos now, which I could do, I guess. And Jess Decker from Bookstagram asked me how it compares to Outline, and I told her in a voice message that like, I think, well, I didn't read them back to back, so maybe if Outline was a fresher experience for me, I would have more to say to that. But I think that Outline was just such a specific moment in like changing my reading taste also, and just kind of building who I am as a reader or what I like to read now. And also just reading Rachel Cusk for the first time is very profound, and For me, it was, at least. So kind of nothing compares to Outline, but I don't think that Outline is just a better book than Transit. I actually think that I enjoyed Transit just as much. Just the experience of reading Outline, I think, is not comparable. We're following our narrator, Faye. You know, if you're not familiar with this trilogy, it's autofiction, no plot. If you're looking for plot, this is not the kind of writing for you. But I was just reminded how much it's so right for me. Like, the way she does it is so right. So I enjoyed a lot. Faye, our main character, we learn more about her in this one. Takes place in London. After she's separated from her husband, she's moving back with her kids to London. And so this is a much more London city-based book than Outline was. She was on like a writing and teaching kind of project in Athens and in Greece. So in terms of setting, it's much more like urban. Ohadi, my beautiful partner, we were speaking about this yesterday because she read Transit actually before me, and was so like articulate with thoughts yesterday about just Rachel Cusk's writing and also Transit and the power of what she does in this book. And I really wish that I had turned on the camera and just filmed. Similar to Outline, it's kind of broken up into sort of chapters, but not really chapters, like sections that involve her, Faye, her interactions with different people. So in Outline, it's mostly like conversations, and the same with Transit. And the kind of theme of Outline was like people sort of just confessing their life to this this narrator that we don't really know anything about. We don't get any description of her. And Transit is more, she's more active. She's more asking questions. I found that we learn more about her and her positioning in the world, and like also her positioning in these dialogues or in these situations with other people. She's less ambiguous, and she has more of a driving force there, and you learn about her through questions she's asking or just the way she describes people. So I just love that format. I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes right now. Come our guest of honor. Hi. Welcome to our talk show. I was just saying to them that you were sharing such like beautiful reflections on Transit and also just Rachel Cusk's writing yesterday, and that I wish that I had turned the camera on. Yes.
You actually bought me both Outline and Transit.
Yeah.
It was almost like it explained to me things about Outline, like about this character.
Yeah. Yeah, I said we get a little bit more information about Faye.
Yeah.
And she's a little bit less ambiguous in this one. Like,
Yeah.
she's more present.
Yeah, she's less of a shadow and more like a person.
And something you brought up yesterday was like, you feel a bit like this character is like trauma, or what she's carrying, yeah, and like,
yeah,
it colors more.
Yeah, like
everything.
I really felt like there is some like her like serenity, like there's something really addictive about it.
Yes.
About this tone and about this like sort of life experience and pace, and then you start to wonder like, what is this present absent human reach this?
The beach is called Kelowna.
Kelowna. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have the cute neighbor.
Yes.
Yeah, the pace of like this writing is so, I just can't match it with anything else.
Made me wonder like, who is this person, until I started reading Transit, and then you get all
more.
this, like you get into this character, even though it's still it's still a lot about the people she meets.
Yes. I made an observation that like whenever she describes men, she describes them whenever she describes men, she describes them as like grown children. Like physically, when she
Yeah.
physically like describes the men that are in the book, like all of them look like elderly children or like a grown-up child with a big head or something. Like she's
and
always
she
kind of
actually
like
has two
sliding,
boys,
yeah,
which
which
in
might
the book,
also be. I just like her like little stabs.
twice she describes men as like paintings or
Mm.
like her ex that she meets in transit, that like over time like he developed layers to her.
Yes,
like a
of like
painting.
paint, yeah. There's like a sentence of this one of the women
Mm-hmm.
in this like family dynamic in the very end of the book where she says like she can't remember exactly what caused it, but one day she just stepped off of the bus and she felt like she was looking at her life from the outside and looking at her family from the outside, and then she like went to sleep with that feeling and she woke up with that feeling and the feeling like never went away, that she was just kind of like observing everything as if it was not her life, which is kind of like the whole book. It's
Yeah,
like kind
there's
of her.
always this like sense of reflection in the other characters that like reaches a peak towards the end, which is just such a mind-blowing like structure.
Yes.
Also still like so subtle.
Oh, I wanted to say that I read Second Place, her newest novel, last year, and it was probably my favorite read. And it's up there with like maybe my favorite book of all time. And there's a short, like, there's a character that comes into transit in the form of like a young woman who Faye is like going to mentor as a writer.
Yes.
And she's like writing about this the student is like, I don't know how to write my book, but this is my theme, and it's about how she goes into like a Paris gallery and she sees this painter, and it like is a revelatory experience, and like that is the whole setup of Second Place. Like our main character in Second Place, I think, is like directly derived from this smaller character in Transit, which is just so nice when you read like
You're able to
an author's body of work and like you're able to like draw those connections about like how a author takes, I don't know, one element, some smaller element of
And
another
zooms
book and like
into it.
zooms into it. I think that's so interesting.
Somehow I set it aside when I was reading it. Somewhere in the middle, like something got a little bit slow to me. But however, like so many moments were like so, like my stomach was flipping. Like I might be somewhat like speculating. We talked about it after Ben finished. I was like, no, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and like that is maybe my story.
I think that's what's great about this is like it leaves, like, I feel like other books don't leave the main narrator voice somewhat open to interpretation. Like most of the time you have at least a clearer picture of like who is telling this story or like about the main character.
Yeah.
And like this is special in the sense that like you could say she's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The situation was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would think something totally different.
Yeah.
Like that she is like can be interpreted in different ways, and also like I feel like reflects a lot like on your own life, or like your like you put yourself in her place. Someone asked me how I think it compares to Outline.
I think that Outline is like really kind of a long poem, and Transit is a little bit more on the ground somehow.
Yeah.
Like one like is like in the water, like some
Fluid sort
yes, woman like kind of ripped out of her roots or out of her context,
and
like
dropped.
and dropped, and a little bit just witnessing like a ghost or something, and Transit is like rooted in
Reality more.
Yeah.
Or in transit also. Like she's in a moment of transition in her life, you know, and it starts with like this astrologer kind of like sending her chart that like she's going through a moment of transit, like,
and it finishes and kind of alludes to that through,
again,
like some kind of like picture of life
Mars.
on Mars or something.
Yeah, like
And
a lot of being in transit, relationships in transit, family in transit. So poetic, but also like so not overly flowery or lyrical. Like it's very clean,
yeah.
clean cut and sharp, but like also very poetic. I had the opposite experience of you, which is like outline I took a lot of time with. Like I would read one chapter out of 10 and I would like really need to reflect on it, and it was really like blowing my mind, and then like second chapter and I would need to take time with it, and this I was just like that's it. Okay, that was lovely.
Right?
Yeah. Cusk Book Club. A Cusk Club.
Cusk. Bye. Thank you for having me on the channel.
On the show. They come for you, really, in the end.
The spotlight is on.
So we decided when we arrived back from the airport that we were gonna take all of our clothes out of the closet and see what sparks joy, honey. So wish us luck. This is not even everything. So the update on the closet clear out is all of this is giveaway. So not the shoes, but 2 suitcases, a bag, that stuff on the floor. This one dress I'm like not sure about. This is stuff going upstairs for winter. And this is so far the progress on the closet. Basically it's done. Next I just want to do some books because I can definitely unhaul a bunch of these books. We also always have laundry, so there might be a few things in there we don't want anymore.
Yeah.
But, oh, also, I'm asking for help from people with ficus plants. I don't know what's happening to her. Part of it looks like she was burnt in the sun, although she's not in direct sunlight at all. And we are watering her, but I don't know if it's too much or too little. But this is what's happening. Maybe someone can assist us. Thank you very much. Even the new leaves that are coming are looking weird. Hi, so I'm back home, not on vacation anymore. I mean, I am still on vacation from work, but I'm not in Greece. It was an amazing trip, so enjoyable, relaxing. It was just like exactly what a vacation should feel like. Like, I don't know, I've had that experience when it's really hard for me to turn off from, I don't know, the responsibilities of life to like really, really let go and enjoy. I can name like so many vacations I've been on where it was just difficult for me to really let go. And this was just it was just easy and I had the best time. The hair is looking like lioness. So yeah, that's what happens when you cut yourself bangs and then you don't put them down and they go the opposite direction. I'm here to talk to you about the other book that I read on vacation to kind of close out this video. Sorry about the laundry. I just can't be bothered really to, maybe I should move it. I did like not sign up to looking at my socks and stuff. I'm gonna film this because I've just gotten in the rhythm of talking because I made a little Instagram stories video about books that I would like to read this month in August for Women in Translation month. Here they are. Yeah, but anyway, you can go to Instagram if you want. Shameless plug. So I read this one after I finished Transit. I finished The Summer Without Men by Siri Hustvedt. Hustvedt? I have a hard time to say her last name. This is my introduction to her writing. I also have What I Loved on my bookshelf, but I haven't gotten to that one. So yeah, The Summer Without Men felt like the summer read. My summer is not without men, if you know what I'm saying. Firstly, I can say that I really enjoyed this book. I think that Siri Hustvedt is such a funny, smart, she has this tone that's really self-aware, funny, but also really touching and really, really deep and also very, very intelligent. So she's like a whole amalgamation of all of those qualities that make like, when you read this book, you're like, I want to have this woman over for a glass of wine. I want her to come for dinner. We're following our main character named Mia. She is, I think, in her 40s, if I'm not mistaken. And the book sets up with her husband telling her that he wants to have a pause in their marriage. I think they've been married like 20 years or something. Pause, and she goes mad. First sentence is, sometime after he said the word pause, I went mad and landed in the hospital. She has what they call like a brief psychotic episode that's kind of like a trauma response that you go through like kind of, yeah, short period of psychosis that's just related to a specific event and then it goes away. She basically doesn't handle well the fact that her neuroscientist husband says he wants to go on a pause in the marriage. And so she's like admitted into this hospital, which is like not that, we don't spend that much time there. She's writing this book after the whole thing has already happened. So she goes back to spend the summer in this prairie town, rural kind of, where she grew up in the prairies in her childhood home. She's kind of getting to know this town that's only women live there, basically. I think there's like one man that's referred to in this book, but mostly it's women. Got her mother, who's aging. She's, I think, in her late 80s, and a group of women who are also kind of in this like home for elderly women, and she calls them the Swans. And so they're like women in their 90s or really late 80s who are like having a book club together, who are just really eccentric women. And she also has a young neighbor who is, yeah, a younger woman with 2 kids, or 3 kids maybe, and a really like erratic, loud, slightly like verbally abusive husband. And then she also, in the summer, teaches a poetry class to women, young women in like 7th grade or something. You're introduced to this kind of like microcosm of women of different ages in this prairie town. I love so much the kind of place in which this takes place in. This is a DWM, okay? This is depressed woman moving through the world. This is like a classic in that sense, but it's done really well. And I think that, I don't know, in this side of YouTube and BookTube and book reading, I feel like we read a lot about the DWM woman, and I can understand that people, and myself included, can also sometimes get tired of that. But this perspective and this woman and the way that Siri Hustvedt, hard time saying her name, the way she does it is just really enjoyable. There's a lot about aging here and aging as a woman in the world. Just really beautiful, funny, interesting, badass women in the Swans who are like in their 90s. And yeah, it made me, this is the kind of book that kind of, you want to hug it. Like, you want to put your arms around it. The narrator, Mia, she's very aware that she's writing you a book. So she uses that as a device to kind of tell her story. She also refers a lot to other books, other poems, other writing. So if you like a book that kind of sends you off into a tangent of research or additional reading, I think you would really like this. Our narrator, Mia, is a poetry teacher, so she writes her own poetry. So there'll be a moment where she'll be like, this and this happened and it made me write this poem, and then the poem is in here. About relationships between women and generational relationships. You know, you have this like class of seventh grade girls who are like just being the worst to each other, really, like such bitchy little shits, versus like holding a narrative of like this group of really older women who also are dealing with what it means to be at the end of your life, and this really eccentric woman who does embroidery, and like she shows Mia her embroidery work that like people know, and then the embroidery work that people don't know, which is like the fake work is the ones that people know, and the real work is the one that she keeps for herself. And she really like embroiders and depicts these like really erotic images or subversive subject matter, and or yeah, like violent even kind of images, which I just thought was so interesting. Look at this sentence that I underlined. Libraries are sexual dream factories. I don't know, you guys, I think you gotta give it a read. And the husband that asked for the pause, she's you know, dealing with thinking about, why did he want to pause? Is there someone else? Is there another woman? There is another woman. So then, you know, you're following like whether they're gonna get back together or not. She's asking herself as a woman, is it okay for me to take this man back into my life after this kind of infidelity, men, women, differences, going into a lot of critical theory also about like awful theories that were published in the past about the differences, scientific differences between men and women, and that, you know, just, I don't know. She's doing a lot here, and I really appreciate it. I think I'm excited to read more Hustvedt. She just had an essay collection come out, I think, which looks really interesting, like mothers, fathers, and daughters, or something like that. Thanks for watching this rambly vlog. I feel like Ohadi and I rambled about Cusk, now I rambled about Siri. So, a rambly kind of vacation vlog. So thanks for sticking around if you made it to the end. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.